Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, carrying on with the micro V videos, we've got another GPM part. This is the LMB048-B. So again, a blue part. It's the alloy steering rack. This thing's microscopic. So we're going to dig into the little Losi micro B and find out what it's like to fit this bit. So, let's bring in for a close-up look and see how we get on. So, let's see what we get in this. So we do have a resealable bag for these ones. They always come in really handy. And we get the, I think that's the Acumen plate. And then we get a separate bag with the two little steerers. These have got tiny little bearings in them. Both these look identical. So let's see what it entails to fit these. I think just to clear things up a bit, let's get the little lipo out of here, just so we've got one less wire flailing around. So we need to get down to the actual steering, which is below this, and seems though it all sits above the chassis. I think the first thing we're going to have to do is pop off our shocks from the shock tower. So we just need to remove the top of the shocks from a shock tower. That'll get them out as way. Now again with these we've got no instructions, so we've got the two screws that hold the bulkhead down. So I'm going to start by removing these two. And these are quite long, they go all the way through into the rails. Now looking at this, it looks like these two ball studs hold the front of this bulkhead down. So let's see if we can pop those off. So that's got all them out of the way. Now I think we're going to have to try and undo these two. So luckily I did manage to get these out with the shock pliers, and then I can get this little tool on and slowly back these out. But you are going to need a 2.5mm socket to get these ball studs off, but it is possible to unscrew them. So we can get both those out. Then we can remove the bulkhead all in one piece. And then we get down to the steering assembly. So for this, you're going to have to carefully lift this off the pins. And then just snap the ball studs out. So that's the steering one and that one out. Then we've just got this one here. So as we can see, the new GPM steering assembly, it looks pretty similar, so you can work out which way round it goes. And luckily GPM put the logos on the top, and you've got the location for the steering ball joint. So all we've got to do now is get us 050 driver and remove the two screws on the top. So we remove one of the screws, then we can get our new pieces, put them together, and we get this screw in. Then we've got to get it started. And again, when you're screwing these down, you just need to screw it down until you start feeling resistance. And then stop. Because you don't want to shear them off. So that's got one fitted. Then we need to remove our second one. And as we see, the stock ones, not only are they plastic, but we've got just the normal bronze bushings, whereas the new part is fully bearings. So again, just tighten this up till you start feeling resistance, and these should be nice and free. Then we've got 3 ball studs that we're going to need to remove, and hopefully these are easier to get out than the ones that hold the bulkhead in. The interesting bit's going to be getting the steering link on. So with these I would start them off by hand, because it's going to be very easy to cross thread these. Then once you've got it started, you should just be able to spin them in. And don't try and over tighten these. It would be very, very easy to shear these off. So then we need the one for our steering link. This is going to screw onto the lower one, and again I'd start it off by hand, just because it's far harder to cross thread them when you're just doing them finger tight. Then we've got our last remaining ball joint, and I certainly think a worthwhile upgrade on this would be the Endura ball joints with the little X drive in the top. I think that would make working on this RC a whole lot easier. So that'll certainly be something I'll be looking to get at a later point. We have got a whole load of upgrades to go on this, and I think having spares of these is definitely going to be a benefit. So looking at this now, I think the steering one is definitely going to be one that you're going to want to go for first. Get that snapped on. Then if we lift up the RC and we get these into position, drop them down, and then we should be able to clip our steering on. So that's got steering in place. Once you get all those clipped back on, we can drop this bulkhead back down, and you've got 2 little locating pins on the back. We can get them in, and then I think it's probably going to make us life easier if we get these back 2 in first, just to hold everything in place. And just remember on this, as with all the screws, don't over tighten these. It's certainly not an RC that I would work on with any kind of electric driver, because I think you're just asking for threads to be ripped out, or even rip the head clean off the little screws. So that's that one in. Then you should be able to clip the front of the bulkhead in place. And then we have the lovely tedious task of getting these 2 ball studs screwed back down. So I'm not going to bore you watching me screw these, because we've got literally a quarter of a turn at a time, and we're going to get these screwed back in. So I'll get them screwed down and then we'll carry on. So once we've got the 2 little ball studs screwed down, should then be able to pop on as little arms, and then pop the suspension back into place. And that should be it. We've now got a steering fitted, and to be honest, it does feel like it's got a bit less slop in it. There's still a little, but I'm not really sure how much of that is in the actual ball studs and the servo saver. But don't feel too bad. Looks like the steering throw is still what we'd expect. It's still correct, or as correct as you can make this little thing. But we've got a nice little Ackerman plate and as ball race steering there. So just one extra part fitted. We have got quite a bit of bling on this little RC now. So I'll put these bits in our stock bag. And we can see the stock parts with the bronze bushings. Not entirely sure bearings will be any advantage whatsoever, and I kind of think bronze bushings for something that only moves like that, doesn't spin constant, would be absolutely perfect. And in a lot of cases the bronze bushings actually have less slop than a bearing. It does depend on tolerance and quality of bearings, but yeah, really handy to keep these little zip ties. And as Velcro has already fallen off our stock body. So yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, we've now got rear hubs. We've got as front spindles or hub carriers. So we've also got the sealed carriers. We've got our Ackerman plate and steering mount mechanism. So quite a bit of bling on this little thing so far. There's not a lot of it that you can really see that stands out. You can see the steering through there, kind of. You see the front hubs, so they look quite nice, but the rear hubs are pretty much hidden in there. But we know they're there. And yeah, not entirely sure if spending all this money on little tiny alloy parts for an RC that costs less than £100 is a wise idea, but if you let me waste my money, then you don't have to waste yours. So, on that note, let's wrap this one up. So, there we have it, the GPM LMB048-B alloy steering rack for the Losi Micro B. It's definitely getting a good bit of bling on this thing now. Whether these bits are actually necessary or whether they'd improve the RC is yet to be seen. They are still extremely light, which is very different from the problem you run into if you're upgrading, say, a A-Test Creighton or a Traxxas X-Max, where you're putting big heavy alloy parts on. Because these are so small, they're still really light. So be interesting once we get this fully modded to do a weight test on this and see what its full running weight's going to be compared to a stock one. So definitely look out for that video in future, and it'll be really interesting to see if it actually makes any difference going around a track to handling or setting steering up or anything like that. But it's yeah, you get to watch me waste my money so you don't have to waste yours. But thanks a lot for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and if you want to see what else we fasten onto this thing, catch you guys again in the next one.